This is Christopher John Björknes. It is January 19th, 2024, and I have a really good subject for you guys today. I'm going to be talking about the three serpents in the Hebrew Bible, which the Kabbalists use to describe the difference between Gentiles and Jews. And these three serpents appear as the Hebrew letters Yod, Vav, and Nun in incredible ways. Those of you who doubt some of the oral tradition and how it relates to the written Torah are going to be amazed at what I'm going to explain to you today. And the Jewish bankers have been trying to keep these esoteric secrets hidden for centuries. They have aggressively tried to suppress any knowledge about what I'm going to teach you today. And I found this, at least part of it. Some of it is from my own research, but probably the most important part of it comes from Johann Andreas Eisenmenger, who wrote about this in the 1700s. And the Jewish bankers tried desperately to suppress his work, and they kept his book hidden throughout his lifetime. They corrupted the state to censor Eisenmenger so that his book, he published 2,000 copies of it, were confiscated by the state and kept under lock and key so that no one could learn the secrets that I'm about to teach you now. Let me prove that to you. So this is from Heinrich Graetz's book, History of the Jews, Volume 5 in the English translation. If I remember correctly, it's Volume 9 in the German first edition. Graetz was heavily biased, terribly unfair, but he recorded some of the history of what happened to Eisenmenger when he revealed the secrets that I'm about to teach you in a moment. And let's look at what Graetz wrote about this. Eisenmenger studied with the rabbis, and eventually he came across a rabbi who revealed the fact that the Kabbalists believe that Jesus is the serpent Samael from the Garden of Eden. In other words, Jesus is Satan, and all Christians are the children of Satan, and more broadly, all Gentiles are the satanic seed, the offspring of Satan. And the rabbis taught Eisenmenger a carefully hidden secret diagram from a very obscure Kabbalistic book. And when Eisenmenger learned that, he was determined to expose what it was that Judaism teaches about Christianity and about Gentiles. And he published a fantastic master treatise in 2 volumes that the Jewish bankers, specifically the bankers, tried to suppress. So let's look at what Graetz wrote about this history in his History of the Jews. Some Jews had got wind of the printing of Eisenmenger's work at Frankfurt and were not a little alarmed at the danger threatening them. In other words, they were greatly alarmed. The Jews of Frankfurt therefore placed themselves in communication with the court Jews at Vienna in order to meet the danger. Emperor Leopold I, who at the instigation of the Empress and her father confessor had expelled the Jews from Vienna, being in need of money in consequence of the Turkish wars 15 years later, allowed some rich Jews to settle in the capital. Samuel Oppenheim of Heidelberg, a banker, one of the noblest of Jews whose heart and hand were open to all sufferers, not open to Eisenmenger, had probably brought about this concession. As before, several Jewish families alleged to be his servants came with him to Vienna. Samuel Oppenheim zealously endeavored to prevent the circulation of Eisenmenger's book against the Jews. So we see that the suppression of the fundamental human right to free speech is nothing new, and that Jewish bankers have been doing this for centuries upon centuries. In Cicero's Pro Flaccus, I think it's chapter 28, he wrote about the fact that the Jewish gold merchants were suppressing the voice of Roman defenders of the state in the Senate councils. And the New Testament has numerous passages talking about how rich Jews tried to suppress his right, Jesus' rights of free speech and the free speech rights of Christians. So this is part of a pattern which has been consistent for 2,500 years. Our fundamental rights of free speech and our fundamental human rights of self-defense against this attack against us, which stigmatizes us as if the children, the literal offspring of Satan, who must be exterminated, which is hidden in a serpentine, sneaky fashion throughout the Old Testament with 3 Hebrew letters, all of which are pictograms of snakes. The letters Yod, Vav, and Nun, as I'm going to show you. It's just incredible. And it's so typical of the methods that they use to conceal their plan to exterminate all of us. Hence, from personal motives and on public grounds, Samuel Oppenheim exerted himself to prevent the 2,000 copies of Eisenmenger's work from seeing the light of day. It's going to see the light of day today. He and other Jews could justly maintain that the publication of this book in German, unattractive though its style was, would lead to the massacre of Jews. An edict was therefore issued by the emperor forbidding its dissemination. So in other words, a Jewish banker kept Eisenmenger from exercising his fundamental human right of free speech and exposing facts. Eisenmenger, in the German edition, the first edition of his book, provided the original Aramaic and Hebrew passages that he quoted. He accurately quoted them. He did not fabricate a single word, and he put them in their proper context as these passages were presented and taught to him by the top rabbinical scholars of his day. Eisenmenger was a Hebraist. He understood exactly what they were saying. He understood exactly the implications of what they were saying, and he accurately and honestly recorded what they were saying. And this, the truth, represented such a strong threat to the Jews of his day that a banker suppressed 2,000 copies of his book. And these Oppenheim bankers eventually gave a great deal of funds to Adolf Hitler, and Adolf Hitler Aryanized them. He declared them to be Aryans. So they were always intervening in the machinations of the German state to lead Germans into disaster. And they tried their best to prevent you from knowing what I'm about to teach you and what Eisenmenger revealed in the German first edition of his book. I had to read it in the German. I could not find it. After I found it in the German, I went back to the English and I couldn't find it anywhere in the English translation, perhaps because the English found it so blasphemous they couldn't bear to repeat it. So this all relates to subjects I've been covering again and again. The Kabbalists equate Jesus, whom they call Yeshua, adding a shin to the tetragrammaton, Yod-He, Shin Vav-He, for Yeshua, to represent the new Adam of Jesus being androgynous, being both Adam and Eve in a single body, which they portray as Satan, the androgynous Leviathan. This says Leviathan. This says Yeshua, formed out of the Tetragrammaton with the addition of a shin. So they are talking about Samael and Lilith, Satan, being Jesus Christ, and they encrypt this in a series of codes because they are worried that if the Christians find out what all this is about, they're going to be a little upset. So, as I've been describing in my books, the Kabbalists assert that Jesus on the cross is the serpent on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Jesus offers gnosis, knowledge, in the same manner that Lilith, Samael, offered the forbidden fruit of knowledge to Eve and Adam. In the oral tradition of Judaism, much predating Kabbalah, it is revealed that the serpent slept with Eve after giving Eve the forbidden knowledge, and they together produced the child Cain, who became the father of all the Gentiles. And in this way, the seed of Satan was implanted into humanity, and two seed lines were formed, one of which is satanic, including the seminal seed of Satan through Eve, producing Cain, who is viewed as the father of the Gentiles. Jesus is viewed as the reincarnation of Cain and as Samael in human form. Eve is said to have been reincarnated as Rebekah, who produced Esau. Esau was the reincarnation of Cain. Jesus is the reincarnation of Esau, and therefore the reincarnation of Cain, and therefore the seed of the serpent that was implanted into Eve, into Rebekah, and into the Virgin Mary, who is the new Eve. And Jesus is portrayed as the new androgynous Adam, being both Adam and Eve, but bearing the soul of Satan, because he is the reincarnation of Cain, and he was the product of the serpent sleeping with the Virgin Mary in the same way that the serpent slept with Eve to produce Cain. The serpent slept with the Virgin Mary to produce Jesus. And I'm going to show how all of this is encoded in the Torah itself, in the names and the letters. So another important aspect of all this is that the Kabbalists have incorporated all of this into the Sephirotic tree of life. And the letter Yod, which is a small serpent, represents the brain, represents the Sephirah Keter. And that's kind of important to understand. The letter Vav, which is a little bit bigger serpent, is the heart of Tiferet. And Kabbalists create the heart symbol to represent that, and they hold it in front of their face in such a manner that the head represents Nun, which is the letter I'm going to get to, and then the two sides, each of these fingers represents a serpent head, and the thumbs represent two serpent tails. It all forms a caduceus with three serpents, and my fingers form these fingers form the wings of the caduceus. My face forms the head and the staff going from the brain down the spinal cord, which touches the heart. And then making the heart signifies all of this to the Kabbalists as being the three serpents of the letters Yod, Vav, and Nun. Nun is the foundation, Yesod, which is the groin, where the phallus and the womb combine in an androgynous way to produce life. It is the moon. It is the female aspect of God, Shekhinah, and it is where on the moon the Messiah, son of Joseph, and the Messiah, son of David, have sex with Shekinah in Kabbalistic lore and produce Esau and Jacob, the Gentiles, and the Jews as the offspring. And on the highest understandings of Kabbalah, they realize that Shekinah is also Lilith. So Messiah, son of Joseph, Jesus, has sex with Lilith to produce the Gentiles as the new Eve. And Messiah, son of David, has sex with Shekinah to produce the Jewish people, according to all of this mythology. So please understand that this is Keter, the brain, the first intellect of the Godhead, and the letter Yod, which is a pictogram of a serpent. This is Teferet, the heart, representing the letter Vav, which is a pictogram of a serpent. And this is Yesod, the groin, the moon, Shekinah, and the two Messiahs, Messiah, son of Joseph, and Messiah, son of David. So this is Eisenmenger's original text that really shook me when I found this in the German, because I had read the English and I don't remember finding this anywhere in the English. And Eisenmenger, who studied under the best rabbis in the world at the time, wrote, "I must also here draw attention to the fact that when I was in Amsterdam in 1681 and went with a Portuguese scholar to a man named Rabbi David Lida, who was then rabbi of the High German Jews, to have a conversation with him about religion, said man additionally uttered abominable blasphemies against Christ drawn from the book of Shnei Luchot HaBerit, folio 243, column 4, which you can find on the Sefaria website, whereby he sought to prove that the supreme devil, Samael, rules Christianity." That means that Jesus is Samael, Satan. "Given that when the two names, Samael and Edom, are written one below the other, the four outermost letters are read crosswise." I'm going to explain all that with better diagrams. "And again spell the name Samael, but the four inner ones, the name Edom." And I'm going to explain why that's so significant, far beyond what Eisenmenger describes, which is supposed to mean Christianity, as was shown above in the 17th chapter. And that the cross means that people who hold the crucified before God's Son and worship him as a God, and according to his statement, the name Samael must be written above Edom in such a manner. And then he shows these two diagrams. Again, be aware that these represent crosses, like the crucifixion of Christ. "In which manner the four letters on the outside again contain the letters of the word Samael, who is Satan, but the four of them on the inside contain the word Edom, about which something has already been reported above in chapter 16, page 646. So I'm going to show some better pictures of these diagrams and what it all signifies. But pay careful attention to the letters and the position of the letters, because that is key to understanding how the serpent is hidden in names to reveal the Jewish belief that Gentiles are the seed of Satan. I've been hitting it hard lately, and I'm going to keep hitting it. This is a racist, genocidal belief system that asserts that Gentiles are the seed of Satan and must be exterminated from existence in order to perfect the world and remove the satanic spirit from the present world, Olam Hazeh, so that the world to come, Olam Haba, can emerge after the serpent is purged. And the serpent is floating in the names and words in ways that are going to amaze you. So we have Samael, spelled Samech, Mem, Aleph, Lamed. And we have Edom, spelled Aleph, Dalet, Vav, which is the serpent, Mem. Take note of the fact that Edom is a distortion of the name Adam with the addition of a snake. This is a coded symbol representing the idea that the serpent slept with Eve and injected his seed, the Vav, into the female aspect of Adam, which is Eve, to produce Edom, which is also the color red, as in Mars, the red planet of Samael, Gevurah, Din, the seat of judgment, power, and punishment, the homeland, the home planet of Satan. So in this code, they are saying that Adam, ADM, had Vav, the serpent, the number 6, injected into his bloodline to create the bloodline, the dual seed line, the serpentine seed line of Satan, which they believe are the Gentiles. And it was explained directly from a top rabbi to Eisenmenger that these crosses represent this revelation that Samael is the father of Edom, representing, in his mind, Christians, but ultimately representing all Gentiles, and that they are cursed to be purged from existence because they are the seed of Satan, and the seed of Satan has to be removed from the world, which is Tikkun Olam, so that the world becomes divine and holy and free from the contamination, the impurity, the uncleanness of the Gentiles. So this is the same setup that Eisenmenger presented, converting the Hebrew letters to Latin letters and reading from left to right instead of the Hebrew, which reads from right to left. So as Eisenmenger explained, if you take a cross, as in the crucifix, and you write the Hebrew letters for Samael, above the Hebrew letters for Edom, representing the Gentiles, representing Rome, representing Europeans, representing Christians, representing anyone that they want to exterminate, and you read as a cross, like when Catholics cross their heart, you get S-M-E-L, which is identical to Samael, S-M-E-L. And when you read the cross, the crucifix, like a Catholic crossing his heart, you get E-D-O-M, Edom. So as was explained to Eisenmenger based upon that book by the prominent rabbi, this is all a code which the Kabbalists say proves that Jesus Christ is Satan and that the Gentiles, especially the Christians, are the offspring of Satan as revealed by this diagram. But it goes much deeper. So I'm going to get into my research and go a little bit beyond what Eisenmenger presented and show you how the 3 serpents are hidden in Hebrew names and the Hebrew alphabet in order to establish that there is a dual seed line, a satanic seed line of Gentiles and a holy seed line of Jews. So we have Adam, which is spelled Aleph, Dalet, Mem. And they derive from this also the year 1948, which is twice the number of years from Adam to King David would be from David to Messiah, as I've explained many times. Edom is the same word with the addition of the seed of the serpent, which was placed into Cain when the serpent Samael and his female aspect Lilith slept with Eve in the Garden of Eden to produce the child Cain, who is said to be the father of all Gentiles. Cain was reincarnated as Esau and reincarnated as Jesus. And you can see that the Gentiles are cryptically portrayed in Hebrew in the written Torah itself, being Edom, as Adam plus the addition of the serpentine seed. So in this coded message, they are condemning us all to death, and they are declaring that we are the satanic offspring of Samael and Lilith. So Adam plus the serpent Vav equals Edom. This is the word Edom. It is also the word for red. And we're going to get into how Esau was born ruddy. And the word ruddy has all three of the serpents in it. It has the Yod, the Vav, and the Nun in it to indicate very strongly that Edomites, Gentiles, are satanic and have a different bloodline from Jews. Edom equals the Goyim, the nations, the non-Jews. Eve is the female left side of Adam. So if you add Eve in the form of Adam together with Lilith, the female left side of Satan, you get Edom, the color red, Aleph, Dalet, Vav, Mem, to signify all Gentiles. So these three letters in Hebrew, Yod, Vav, Nun, are the three snakes of the caduceus. And they are also present in the name of Eve and in the name of the androgynous Godhead, Yod, He, Vav, He. So the caduceus is formed out of the three serpent letters. Each of these is a pictogram for the serpent. Yod is the holy serpent. Vav is the evil serpent, which is also an aspect of God. And the two together form the androgynous Godhead of Nun. So we have three snakes. We have the holy serpent, the evil serpent, and the combination of the two in their proper androgynous form to form the caduceus. The name Eve in Hebrew is spelled Chet, Vav, He. It is explained by many scholars that Chet is a variation of He. So Eve's name is essentially He, Vav, He, as in the name of the Godhead in the Tetragrammaton. Yod, He, Vav, He. Notice that this Vav is the third letter of the four. That's important because it is mirrored by Edom, the name Edom, Aleph, Dalet, Vav, Mem. The third letter is also Vav. So we have the same continuous pattern. Edom is a tetragrammaton. It is composed of four letters, Vav being the third, just as the name Yahweh, Yod, He, Vav, He, has the Vav as the third letter of the tetragrammaton. Yod is the holy serpent, Vav is the evil serpent, and we have the tetragrammaton being the combination of Yod, the male holy serpent, with the evil female evil serpent of Eve. So we see that Eve is a coded message that females are supposedly evil in Judaism, and they represent the evil serpent of Samael and Lilith combined with the holy serpent of Yod to form the caduceus, where Nun becomes the androgynous coupling of the evil and the holy serpent in one. So we get Eve's name, Chet, Vav, He, equaling the female aspect of the Elohim, of the Godhead. So here we have these three serpents encoded in the name of Eve, in the name of Edom, representing the Gentiles, and in the Tetragrammaton itself, we have the two serpents, Yod, He, Vav, He, representing the male aspect of God as the holy serpent and the female aspect of God as the evil serpent. And the combination of the two is Nun. So we also have when Esau was born, they declared that he came out ruddy. The first came out ruddy. That's in a passage in Genesis chapter 25, verse 25. And that word, ruddy, adamoni, contains the three serpents. It contains the Vav, the Nun, and the Yod. So once again, we have Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Vav, Nun, Yod, showing that Esau is devilish and that the Godhead is composed of the holy serpent and the evil serpent, and that this is the dominion of the Edomites, of the Gentiles, whose soul has to be taken over by exterminating them. So as I was explaining before, we have the caduceus. These wings are formed by the fingers in this manner. The androgynous union of the Godhead, which is Nun, which is Yesod on the Sephirotic tree, is formed by the head of the Kabbalist, making the symbol of the caduceus in the form of a heart, which is Tiferet in the middle. The heart is composed of the two serpents, Vav and Yod, the evil female serpent and the male holy serpent. These fingers represent the heads of the serpent. The thumbs are the tail of the serpent. And again, they form the heart of Tiferet. And Nun is formed out of Yesod. Yesod is both the phallus and the womb. It represents the moon. It is Shekinah, who has sex with the two messiahs to produce Esau and Jacob, just as Rebekah, who is the reincarnation of Eve, did. And just as the Virgin Mary, who was again the reincarnation of Eve, tempted by the serpent to produce the reincarnation of Cain and Esau in the form of Jesus Christ. So when you see Kabbalists or leading politicians and celebrities making this heart, they are not expressing love. They are expressing the caduceus, the three letters, Yod, Vav, Nun, and it represents this Sephirotic androgynous middle pillar of the Sephirotic tree of life. It represents exterminating the Vav of the Gentiles, of Edom, so that the Jews, the Holy Serpent, can assimilate the soul of chaos, tohu, vavohu, hoshech, formlessness, emptiness, and darkness, which is the highest soul of tohu, vavohu, hoshech, and that then they can become Nun, the androgynous coupling of the female Gentile soul together with the holy male Jewish body as the vessel for that soul, and the two serpents can intertwine and become one serpent, and then the world will be perfected. So the Gentiles, like Jesus, their father, have to die and give up their souls. And then those souls are released and assimilated by the Jews. And this process is created as an analog in the process of Messiah, son of Joseph, who has to die fighting in the wars, the final wars, which have already kicked off, so that he can give up his soul to Messiah, son of David. The Gentiles have to be killed off and give up their soul to the Jewish people. And there's another layer to all of this. I don't know if I should get into it now or not, or do a whole show on it. Let me think about it. I think I'll hold off on it. I don't want to digress too much at this point. So let's go over all the slides again so that it sinks in what I'm getting at. There are 3 Hebrew letters which are pictograms of serpents. They are the Hebrew letters Yod, Vav, and Nun. They are portrayed as Yod being Keter, the brain, Vav being the heart, Tiferet, and Nun being Yesod. And all of that is depicted by Kabbalists secretly in this heart symbol. These are the heads of the 2 serpents, Vav and Yod. This is the tail of the serpents. These are the wings of the caduceus. And the head itself going down the spinal column, which is a big part of this, is Nun. And Vav touches the heart in Tiferet by extending from the brain as the spinal cord touches the heart. And then when you complete the whole thing all the way down to the groin where the phallus and the womb combine to recreate the androgynous Godhead, it is in the tail of the spine. The Hebrew word for ruddy, as in Esau came out ruddy, as in King David was ruddy, is Adamoni, and it contains those 3 serpents, Vav, Nun, and Yod. And this is a pictogram of the caduceus. Again, Eve has Vav in the middle of her name to represent the evil serpent. The tetragrammaton of the name of God, the ineffable name of God, Yod-He-Vav-He, is composed of the holy serpent Yod and Eve's name with Vav in the middle to form the androgynous Elohim of the Godhead. Adam is spelled Aleph Dalet Mem. Edom is spelled Aleph Dalet Vav Mem to signify the racist notion that Gentiles were Adam in the form of Eve having the serpent's seed injected into them in the form of the pictogram letter Vav, which is also the number 6, as in 666. Adam plus the serpent Vav equals Edom or red, the Goyim. Eve is the left-hand side of Adam, and when she combined with Lilith in the form of the letter Vav, it creates Edom, the Gentiles. The name for Satan, Samael, when it is crossed, written above the name Edom, representing the Gentiles, and the cross is introduced into it, it once again becomes Samael and Edom, as it is crossed in the form of Christianity, such that Jesus Christ is Satan and Gentiles are the offspring of Satan. This is depicted in the letters Samech Mem Aleph Lamed and Aleph Dalet Vav, the serpent, Mem, to change Adam into the demonic, satanic Edomites. This was initially revealed by Eisenmenger. Eisenmenger's works were aggressively suppressed by the Jewish banker Samuel Oppenheim in exactly the same manner that my books have been censored, same manner I'm shadow banned all over the internet, same manner that I have a whole army of trolls from various intelligence agencies relentlessly smearing me and trying to keep you from learning things like what I just taught you today. So we have now defeated the Samuel Oppenheimers of the world. We have brought to light Eisenmenger's works, and we have come to understand what he so desperately sought for us to know about Judaism, that it portrays Gentiles as if the seed of Satan, as if Adam injected with the seminal fluid of Samael in the form of the letter Vav to become the name Edom, to become Edomites, the descendants of Esau, who was ruddy and combined all of the serpents. So the underlying and most important aspect of all this is the fact that they want to stigmatize us as if we are the descendants, the literal seed line of Satan, to justify their ambition to exterminate us. And we have to do something about this to save ourselves. We have to organize politically. We have to take these people to court and expose their plans to kill us off, as is now happening. I've been saying it for 25 years. We should take them to court. They are now taking the Israelis to court and charging them with genocide. We need to take them all to court for committing the conspiracy of committing genocide against all of humanity. I have provided all of the evidence to do that. It is very clear, even in their letters, that they want the world to believe that Gentiles are the Vav, the evil serpent, in order to justify their pre-existing plan to exterminate all of us so that we do not exist in the world to come. People have to take this seriously. Their plans are being fulfilled. They have instigated the war of the apocalypse, which they have been planning for 2,500 years. And the primary aim of that war is to pit the Edomites, representing the Leviathan, the serpent, Samael, waging a war with the behemoth in the form of the Muslims and communists to mutually consume one another and kill each other off. These people should be put on trial for what they are doing. We should defend ourselves by electing political leaders who actually represent our interests instead of their interests, which are to exterminate us. It is shamefully shocking that in this election cycle, not a single candidate representing the best interests of Americans is running for office, that the political parties have presented us with the two most horrendous candidates in our history in the form of Trump and Biden, and not a single American is running for office, has the courage and the support to run for office to defeat those two easily defeated candidates who are part of the fifth column of this enemy, who stigmatizes us as if we are the seed of Satan and is setting about to crush the head of the snake, meaning to kill us all off. Please take this matter very seriously. I have presented you with the absolute proof. There is a great deal more proof in my books, which you can find at CJBBooks.com. This is only one part of it, but it's a part of it that the Jewish bankers, as I proved, set about to keep you from learning. And I have now taught it to you. I want to thank all of the wonderful people who have contributed. I want to especially thank Carolus and Norbert. And I have some new donors, Barry, and one other. I wish I had the name in front of me. I apologize very much. I will definitely get it into the next video. I'm working my rear end off to get this information out as soon as possible. Hopefully we can get somebody reasonable to run for president as a independent candidate, given the abomination of the two political parties and the candidates that they have presented us with as if our only choice There's got to be some American among the 380 million of us with the wherewithal who can run a viable candidacy to defeat these people who are setting us up to be exterminated. We have now entered the period of what they call the tribulation, from the 2,000-year span of the year 30 AD, when the scapegoat rituals on Yom Kippur began to fail in the temple, until the year 2030. And they want to kill us off by that year 2030. And they have instigated the wars, the apocalypse, in order to do that. And we can stop them, but we have to try. Nobody's going to do it for us. Certainly not them and their agents, Biden and Trump, who are fulfilling these plans for them. I again want to thank my contributors. You can contribute at my website, cjbbooks.com. In some of my video channels, you'll be able to find links below where you can contribute. I once again sincerely apologize to my contributors. I meant to have a slide prepared to express my gratitude, but I was so wrapped up in getting this out because it's so important for people to understand. And I hope you accept my apologies. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I will see all you good people next time. Bye for now.